Good day, everyone. I am Danica Rizal de Almanubay, currently teaching at Pinma Aurelio University main campus under the College of Arts and Sciences Department, and I am currently taking up Masters of Arts in Science Education. Welcome to MGS 001 Foundation and Ethical Theories of Education. For my topic, I'll be discussing about sociological foundation of education, focusing in education and cultural values. For this lesson, we have two major objectives. The first one, we are going to explain the concept of culture and education. Second, discuss the importance of and impact of cultural values in education. Let's start with defining culture. Culture can be defined as all of the ways of life, including arts, belief, and institutions of populations that are passed down from generation to generation. Culture has been called the way of life for an entire society. As such, it includes codes of manners, dress code, languages, religion, rituals, and arts, norms of behavior, such as law and morality, and system of belief. And if we are going to look and observe our surrounding, we can easily identify that there are many culture that is present in our society. And there are many branches of our society that can be impacted by culture. And one of that branches is education. There are many ways that culture influence education, such as development, learning, and motivation. So when we talk about development, this is what we call the social development. Culture can help us in determine the development of our student, and culture is a major component of what societal norms. Children develop and understand how to behave in society with culture being major influence. So meaning our culture telling us what is the right thing or acceptable things to do and what is the wrong thing or the unacceptable things to do. And we'll learn this with our parents, relative, friends, and other people present in our society. And this also includes our moral reasoning that can also be learned in our society and culture. Second one is learning. Culture can help us in determine the learning style of our student. And it is very important to understand the culture of our student to determine and understand the behavior of our students inside the classroom. Because there are many behavior that our students uh, try to do that we think that is unacceptable because of our culture. And meron ding mga bagay na sa tingin natin ay tama, pero sa tingin ng mga student natin ay hindi tama natin gawin bilang teacher. For example, in eye contact. So, eye contact can be varies by culture. For example, in African American and Latin American communities, kino-consider nila na yung 'pag hindi bigay ng eye contact nung mga mas nakakabata habang nagsasalita yung mas nakakatanda ay respectful para sa kanila. But in the classroom and as a teacher, we always require our students to have our eye contact sa'tin. Kasi kadalasan pa nga during recitation, kung sino yung hindi nakatingin sa mga mata natin, sila yung tinatawag natin. Kasi yun yung ating indication na hindi nila alam yung sagot, hindi sila nakikinig, yung focus nila wala sa atin. But if we are going to learn the culture of our students, kaya pala sila hindi tumitingin sa atin kasi disrespectful kung titingnan nila yung teacher nila sa mata. Kasi nga galing sila sa mga communities na ganoon yung culture. And isa pang example, in most non-Anglo culture, yung question na tinatanong dapat ng isang community na ng Anglo, Yoon yung, indication na hindi talaga niya alam yung tanong, kaya siya nagtatanong. So, on the other hand, sa isang classroom, si teacher nagtatanong siya ng mga bagay na alam naman niya yung sagot para lang ma-test yung knowledge ng student kung naintindihan ba yung lesson. But kung nandito tayo sa community na gano'n yung culture, dapat ang nagiging indication is that kaya hindi tinatanong ni teacher or kaya nagtatanong si teacher kasi hindi niya alam yung sagot doon sa tanong. So what if yung question natin is 2 plus 2? So ang iisipin ng mga student, tinatanong ba yun ni teacher kasi hindi niya talaga alam? Or tinatanong yun ni teacher kasi akala ni teacher hindi natin yun alam? And that can be offensive sa mga student natin kung ganon yung kultura na kinalikahan nila. Or somehow, reflection naman yun sa atin bilang teacher. Naiisipin nila, kaya nagtatanong si teacher ng 2 plus 2 kasi hindi niya alam yung sagot doon. So, ang magiging reflection sa atin, hindi tayo magaling, hindi tayo competent enough para maging teacher nila kasi sa simpleng tanong, hindi natin alam yung sagot. So, what if pa kung mas malawak pa yung magiging topic nila? So, ganun yung kaibahan ng culture ng iba't ibang nation sa atin na dapat ay maging aware tayo kung nandun tayo sa mga communities na yon. An additional thing is that it also affect the learning style of our student. For example, there are many students na mas naiintindihan nila yung lesson kung sila mismo yung gumagawa at may sinusunod lang sila na instruction. But also, may mga student naman na kailangan nila munang manood doon sa nagtuturo sa kanila bago nila maintindihan yung lesson. So as you can see, inside the classroom, there are many diversity of the student. Kaya nga, yun din yung topic natin noong nakaraan na linggo. Na kailangan maintindihan natin yung student diversity in terms of learning style and also sa culture na kinalakihan nila para ma-develop natin yung mga assessment na sa tingin natin ay nararapat at walang nakaka-offense dun sa culture na meron sa kanila. And the next one is motivation. So how can we use culture to motivate our students? So ang ginagamit natin dyan is the cultural interest. So we can integrate cultural interest doon sa mga lessons natin para din makuha natin yung student engagement sa mga student natin. For example, sa ibang bansa, ang ah, pinaka sikat na ball game is football. So, madaming merong gusto nun na sport. So, we can integrate the concept of football to our topic kung pwede para makuha natin yung attention ng mga student natin. And for example, in the Philippines, mahilig yung karamihan sa mga student natin sa basketball. So, why not na incorporate natin yung basketball doon sa particular topic natin before tayo mag-proceed. And hindi lang naman sa sports lang. But also, kailangan din i-align natin yon doon sa mismong objectives natin. At the same time, yung mga common interest pa ng mga student natin, gamitin natin pag tayo ay nagdi-discuss ng lesson. Okay, for this slide, let's talk about the connection of culture-based education to social emotional development and the connection of these two to the educational outcomes. But first, let's talk about the culture-based education. This is an approach in which teaching and learning happens based on the values, norms, beliefs, and practices that are the foundation of any culture. Meaning, in culture-based education, nag-stay tayo sa sinasabi nating culture shapes the mind, where binibase natin yung mga assessment or activities na ginagawa natin with the language na meron yung culture, the idea or the concept of the family and community, cultural content, context, and also assessment. And also, if we are able to incorporate culture to education, we can now develop the social emotional development of our students, that able to know their self-worth, cultural identity, their belongingness, and the connection of family to community. At the same time, if we able to positively impact the teaching and learning process through these two things, we can achieve successful educational outcomes such as student engagement, student achievement, and student behavior. I think that's it for my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. And for my assessment question, I have this particular questions. What is culture? How culture impacts education? As a teacher, how can you facilitate classroom with students coming from different culture? Moving forward with my supplemental video, it is all about the impact of culture in the behavior of our students inside the classroom.
If you look at behavior, one of my favorite examples is teachers who work with, I'll use Mexican American students as an example, that really don't understand why it is that when they're reprimanding children, the children won't maintain eye contact. And so that is a cultural difference. You know, having grown up in a Mexican American home, I know that if my parents were reprimanding me and I looked directly at them, they would consider that an act of defiance. So looking away is a way of showing respect and an indication that you recognize that what you've done is wrong. And so teachers will look at behaviors like that, judging them from their own cultural base, and make a determination that it is a behavioral issue. And so they'll begin to treat children as though they have behavior disorders. But I think the point that's important is if you look at a behavior and it's common to a group, it's somewhat interesting that you as a teacher have not recognized that as a cultural difference. So it becomes really important for teachers to be sensitive to the fact that we communicate in different ways. We may not be comfortable if you ask for a public response, you know, raising our hand and presenting ourselves as a knowledgeable person in front of our peers. And so teachers may consider that to be shy, withdrawn behavior, and if it persists over time, they may think about referrals. To me, every teaching act is a cultural act. It's the interaction of the culture of the teacher and the culture of the student. And if the teacher isn't aware of what the norms and expectations are for a particular student or a particular group, they will interpret the behaviors deficient in relationship to their own cultural preferences or norms for behavior. And so we have all kinds of examples like that. If students don't learn English quickly enough, teachers may think they have problems. If they go to back to their native country, or Mexico is a common example in Texas where I live, where kids will be gone for several weeks because they're visiting relatives. And so that interrupts their education. Teachers don't consider that interruption as the cause of the problem, so they don't fill in those gaps, and a student begins to look like a student with a disability.